Morning indeed, with a very chill weather of about 11 degrees Celsius this morning. The weather is very cold, and I believe it is the same with you if you live in Jos and somewhere Jos and its environs. Today is the 19th day of December 2024, and of course it's a Thursday. If you can hear me this morning, then it means you're rightly tuned into the frequency meter of Unity 93.3 FM and TV. And of course, we'll be taking you on this very informative and very exciting and very interactive ride into the world of politics this morning as usual. We'll be doing this in 3 segments. The first segment is going to be the newspaper review, and the second segment is going to be the transit segment, where we are going to have some discussions around certain issues that concerns our dear nation, especially as it concerns politics. Today, this morning, the third segment is the interactive segment, your segment that you can call in and give your submissions and contributions to lend your voice to the cause of our dear nation this morning, or even bring in submissions as to certain things that are of concern around your area this morning. Well, the number to call is 07032353315, and the number to send your SMS to is 08163141141. This morning, I am not going to be alone in the studio. As usual, you know, I usually have some analysts, and this morning I am not having someone you're not very familiar with. I am with a voice you're very familiar with. He's no other person but the person of Professor Paveno H. Bameyi. He is going to be the one that is going to be taking us on this ride this morning. Well, before I introduce the professor, before the professor says good morning to you this morning, I want to say thank you for the text messages you sent in yesterday, the condolences you sent in, and the calls I got from you. I actually spoke yesterday here about the loss of my mother-in-law, and then I got a lot of text messages from you, and then a lot of calls from you too. That goes to tell how much you care about us here in the studio, and I really appreciate all that you have done. God bless you. The burial of Kaka is going to be taking place tomorrow by the grace of God by 10 p.m. Service will be happening tomorrow at Cooking Church Carbon by 10 p.m. The corpse will be leaving Plateau State Specialist Hospital by 8 a.m. to Cooking Church RCC Carbon for the funeral service, and final interment is going to be at Zabolo Village, Zaria Road, Jos, while her prayer and sing-song service today is going to be at the family residence somewhere around Carbon, Cooking Church Carbon this evening by 4 p.m. By the grace of God, Kaka will be laid to rest tomorrow, and then your show of concern has done so much to the family. I really want to say thank you once more. With all that being said, this morning I would want to introduce the professor in the house to actually say good morning to you and bring to you that usual motivation that I myself look forward to. Professor, you're welcome to the studio this morning.
Good morning, Pedro Michael. Condolences.
Thank you, sir.
My deepest condolences on the loss of your grandmother, mother-in-law. Life at best is very brief. You see somebody today, tomorrow he's no more. And even babies die. So we are actually carrying death with us every day. And nobody knows exactly the moment he's going to leave this world. It can be any time. And that is why we must live life knowing that we can leave this world at any day, any moment, any time. Grandma has lived a fantastic life on earth, and for her to have attained such an age, she has been able to live out her lifespan on earth and achieve many things. So may her heart be comforted, and indeed the entire family.
Thank you so much.
Viewers and listeners, good morning. If you're in other parts of the world that is not morning, good afternoon and good evening. Suda Makan, have you eaten? Or rather, do you even have something to eat? As usual, if you don't have food, why don't you visit your neighbor or your friend and open up and say, look, I have no food to eat. And then you'll be surprised the kind of help you will get. People have done it, and it has worked out fantastically well for them. They were amazed at the overwhelming response that they received from friends and neighbors who discovered they had nothing to eat. So, don't die in silence. It is those who refuse to cry out for help that fail to get help. If you cry out for help, help will come your way. Well, today is a beautiful day, 19th December 2024. And like a joke, the year has come to an end. In a matter of a few days, we'll be bidding 2024 farewell, and we'll be welcoming 2025 by the grace and mercies of God. I want to ask you, how far so far have you gone with your goals for 2024? And how are you strategizing for 2025? Remember, your goals and objectives must be SMART. SMART means specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. Remember that when you are pursuing your goals in life, there will be opposition. Let me tell you a tiny little bit, like my children will say, they will combine tiny and little bit. That's tautology. But let me tell you a bit about Nelson Mandela. Nelson Mandela was a man that was determined to achieve great things. And he was determined to end racial segregation that was called apartheid in South Africa. The black South Africans were not allowed to vote. They cannot eat in the same restaurants with the European or so-called white counterparts. And there was no issue between the two races. The apartheid regime ruled South Africa for many years. And the black Africans were segregated against. They were ostracized. They were second or third class citizens in their own country. And Nelson Mandela and his friends were determined to stop it. But what happened? They ended up in prison. Nelson Mandela and his 11 friends were sentenced to life in prison in 1964 or so. And Nelson Mandela languished in prison. It was like the end. But even from prison, he was still fighting. Even from prison, he was still perspiring to acquire what he requires in life. After over 27 years in prison, he was finally released. 1990, 1991. By 1994, he became the first president of a united South Africa. Served only one term in office. By 1999, he stepped down. He did not want to do anymore. To this day, we are talking about him. Even the United Nations had to set aside July 18th as Nelson Mandela Day. He had become a global icon. He even won the Nobel Peace Prize. He refused to give up in spite of adversity. And that's why I'm encouraging you this morning. Tough times never last, but tough people do. That's why I'm encouraging you this morning and telling you that those goals, those visions, those dreams, you can achieve them. They might look very lofty. They might even look impossible. But remember, even the word impossible says I''am possible. I'm possible. I'm possible. Remember that there will be difficulty on the way to achieving your goals like Nelson Mandela faced. But in the middle of difficulty lies opportunity. Don't miss out on the opportunities that life presents to you. Life will present to you opportunities of a lifetime. And we must seize the opportunity of a lifetime during the lifetime of the opportunity. I encourage you today, please go out there and make a difference. Pursue your goals. Pursue your objectives. Don't give up, no matter how difficult things are. Don't give up, no matter the adversity. Don't give up, even if it looks as if the whole world is against you. Don't give up. It is those who are crazy enough to think that they can change the world that end up doing it, Steve Jobs said. So go out there believing that you can make a difference in your own life, in somebody's life, in your community. And please always remember to be the change that you want to see in the world.
Thank you so much, Professor, for that wonderful motivation this morning. It came in handy, actually. I believe a lot of our listeners out there were expecting or anticipating to hear your voice, and then this very motivation this very morning. Well, with that being said, I'll be looking into a few newspapers this morning, and I'll be starting with the Daily Times. The Daily Times has it to say, Tinubu approves management for river basin authorities. Tinubu presents 49.7 trillion budget of restoration before joint section of National Assembly. We will not kill the tax reform bills, National Assembly. Budget 2024 budget implementation extends to June 2025. Tinubu presents 49.7 trillion 2025 budget as defense, infrastructure, health, education takes big share. That is from the Daily Times. And the first news has this to say, Akpabio defense Tinubu tax bills cause critics uninformed. NAFDAC alerts public to counterfeits. Paludex tablet sales. Ghana's Supreme Court rejects appeals against anti-LGBTQB. PSC approves promotion of 8,053 senior police officers. Tinubu unveils 43.7 trillion restoration budget. Security, infrastructure, food security takes center stage. PDP rejects budget, calls it anti-people. Dangote Refinery clarifies NNPCL's 1 billion investment claim as misleading. National Assembly extends 2024 budget implementation to June 2025. Tragic Ibadan stampedes claims lives at children's carnival. The blueprint has this to say, many fear dead, injured in Ibadan children fun fair. Anyone involved will be held accountable. 2025 Tinubu targets 34.82 trillion revenue to fund 49.7 trillion budget. Defense security gets 4.91 trillion, infrastructure 4.6 trillion, education 3.5 trillion, and 2.48 trillion goes for health. That is from the first news, and those are the few newspapers that we are going to be looking into. All of the newspapers have a lot to say about the budget presented yesterday.
Well, let's begin from the tragedy that took place yesterday at the Bashorum area in Ibadan. A Christmas carnival was organized for children by one of the, do I call her, former wives of the Oni. And it was mostly women who were involved in organizing it. I think they called themselves Women in Need of Governance and something organization. They organized this carnival so that children can have a fantastic time, so that they can have fun, run around, play, eat, dance, and all that. The event was actually supposed to begin yesterday, Wednesday, but parents had started bringing children right from Tuesday. Yesterday, there was a massive turnout of parents and children for the carnival in that Bashorum area of Ibadan. Now, because of the surge, the huge crowd of children entering the place, and because of poor organization, poor logistics, there was a stampede. In fact, as of last night, they said at least 30 children died in that Bashorum area of Ibadan.
35 as of this morning.
As of this morning, it has increased to 35. Maybe by the end of today they will say 40. The number might keep increasing as some of those in the hospital may give up the ghost. That's not our prayer. We pray that they survive. But as they take stock, it's likely that the number may rise. This is unfortunate. And this morning my heart bleeds for the parents who have lost little children. 3 years old, 4 years old, 5 years old, 6 years old, 7, 8 years old, 9, 10, small children in a stampede that could have been averted. This morning we can only say, may their souls rest in peace. These little angels, that their lives were suddenly terminated here on earth. May their souls rest in peace, and we pray that God will comfort the families who have lost their children in this Ibadan tragedy. Again, we have lessons to learn when things like this happen. It is not the first time that we are experiencing this in this country. In fact, it is not the second time that people are dying as a result of stampede. Another children carnival a few years ago ended up in tragedy. In fact, we've had a religious gathering in Benin years ago that ended up in tragedy in a stampede with 11 people dying. So this is not a new thing in Nigeria. It has been happening again and again, and it looks as if we're not learning when it comes to organization. Now, if you plan to host a carnival, and then you have a small space and only 1 or 2 gates leading into the place, and you decide to close the main gate and ask people to pass through a small gate, maybe because you want to regulate the number of people going in, and then you have a huge crowd that is coming. It's just like when water after heavy rain is rushing, and then there is only a small opening for the water to pass through. The water will break every barrier in an attempt to pass through, and there can be great damage. Now, when you see things like this happening also, it is an indicator of the level of poverty that we have in this country.
Very true, sir.
I give you an instance, or let's just say, for example, Michael Pedro, you decide to organize a carnival at the Jos Stadium, the Rongpang Stadium. And you tell the people, come, I'm going to give you free shoes. I will give you free bicycles. I'm going to give you free clothes, free bags of rice, free drinks. I tell you, you will not be able to control the crowd that will be rushing to Rongpang Stadium. Why? Because there is something free. And why? Because the level of poverty in the country is staggeringly, extremely high. And so when people hear that there is free food, they will just rush to the place. You know, one of the congregations here in the city, they announced that the next Sunday they were going to serve free food in the church. And so they were preparing. They know the average number of the members. With that average number, they decided to increase the number. A woman even said, no, increase it again, make it like ×2 or something, just in case. And on the day that the free food will be served, that Sunday, when they were bringing the food was so much. Some of the women were just complaining that, look, hey, today we are going to waste food. What is going to happen? All this food, we should have just, at least, we know the number of people in the church. And then we decided to increase it now. Who is going to eat the remaining food? Do you know that as the service started, a crowd started moving in. At the end of the day, the food was not even enough. People who don't worship there decided to come because there is free food. They heard that that church was going to serve free food, and they just moved to that place. And it is the level of poverty in the country. People can hardly afford a meal in a day, And then they hear that there is free food. They'll be rushing to that place. One of the easiest ways that you can get Nigerians to attend any occasion is tell them there will be free food. Come and eat. You will see even those who have food in their houses, they will leave the food there and go for the free one.
True.
You will just have a crowd. True. This was what happened at the Bar showroom, Ibadan. Because of free food, free gifts, a free carnival for children to celebrate Christmas, but it ended up in tragedy. More than 30 young lives. Among them, probably, is the future president of Nigeria. Among them, maybe is the future governor of Oyo State. Among them are future professors, are future imams, future bishops, future captains of industries, doctors, pharmacists, lawyers, and all the rest. Among these more than 30 children. But their lives ended up in tragedy. Their lives were cut short. And this is poor organization. When you want to host a crowd and you see a huge crowd coming, that is not the time to just create a small opening. That's the time to open all the gates. Every possible entrance and outlet, that is the time to open. In fact, you should have prepared ahead of time and rehearsed and look at the different scenarios. What is going to happen if we have a huge crowd coming to this place? How do we control the crowd?
Sir,
and there is another thing before I forget. Nigerians were very impatient, gracious. Very impatient people. The organizers can say, wait, please don't come. Let's attend to this number first. Nigerians will not listen. They will rush. Some will be jumping over the wall to enter the place. Because we're impatient. You will see parents trying to bulldoze their way because something is free there. Even when they're being told, wait. We're very, very impatient. I've seen Nigerians, when they're about to enter a bus, you see some, do you know some people will jump through the window to enter the bus? Because there is no enough space. They'll be jumping in different directions. They'll push the conductor aside, and rush inside. We are very impatient people.
Now, considering the state of the economy today and the fact that this Prophetess Naomi that organized this very Christmas fun fair, it's not just a Christmas fun fair. From the information gotten, it is also an empowerment, more like an empowerment scheme where these children were promised to be given 5,000 naira. 5,000 children to be given 5,000 naira. Now, if you look at it, a lot of parents would want all of their children to be in attendance, and then they would probably tell them, if you go, make sure you find access inside you, because people, and then that mentality will be the reason why a lot of Now you imagine one woman sending 4 children to get for 5,000 naira, she's short of 20,000, and now unfortunately the outcome is a very devastating one.
It's a tragedy.
It's 5,000 naira. What will 5,000 naira?
Because of 5,000 lives have been lost.
Sincerely, sir.
If not that we're in a country where political leaders have weaponized poverty. If not for the 133 million plus Nigerians living in poverty in this country, why would people lose their lives because of 5,000? Look at what happened some months ago in Nasarawa State in Lafayette, because the governor wanted to give rice. 4 students lost their lives. There was commotion and stampede, and 4 students were killed. They lost their lives. Innocent students for nothing because of 25-kilogram bag of rice. It tells you the level of poverty in this country. And when people are extremely poor, they don't think correctly. All they're thinking about is, you said, you will give me 1 bottle of Coke. Because of that bottle of Coke, they want to die.
I was having a conversation with one professor here in the University of Jos. I don't want to mention his name. He said something that really, really got to me. He said, the first God every man worships is his stomach. Until you are full, you hardly think straight. And so we are placed in the position where hunger determines a lot of the decisions we make is mostly sponsored by the hunger that we feel, and so therefore a lot of things are done irrationally. But then we're going to be having this conversation more when we come back from this very, very short break. Stay tuned and don't touch the dial. We'll be back not too long from now. And when we come back, the professor will be giving us more insight into certain conversations and of interest this morning. Stay tuned.
This is Unity FM.
Due to the frequency of unity, the voice of reason, the voice so clear and crystal. Put your mind on the stereo. United we stand, divided we fulfill the pleasure of the group. Unity FM 93.3, the voice of reason.
Okay,
yeah.
Let's go. Okay, bow in the way. Come on, come a day. Before the sun rises, make a hey. You want me to close me? Lele. I be all over your finger like Lily. We be flying in the air like Iris. Taking all over the stereo, what's next? All the stations I beg, do vex. Now we defeat your playlist. All the tunes we play in the pitch piece. So break chain, it's time to be free. I'm reason with the voice, 93.3.
Unity FM 93.3 we're here. Unity FM, the voice of reason. Unity FM, the voice of freedom. Unity FM, the voice of reason. The voice of reason. The voice of reason. Unity, yeah, voice of reason. Unity, oh, voice of reason.
Unity FM 93.3, the voice of reason.
From the home of peace and tourism, this is Unity 93.3 FM.
Advertise your goods, services, and products here on the all-new Unity 93.3 FM. We are the station you have been waiting for. Take advantage of our wide coverage, quality programming, unique listenership, and unbeatable rates to promote and market your products and services. For us at Unity FM, your satisfaction is our driving force. For placement and inquiries, visit our marketing office at number 62, Zenaria Hill Layout, Jos Plateau State, Nigeria, or call us on 080-253-22266, 080-5223-1992. So come talk to us today and we will put your word out there.
That very short break, if you can still hear my voice, and it means you're still right there tuned into the frequency meter of Unity 93.3 FM and TV. And of course, it is still that your most anticipated political and socio-economic program on the radio, the Unity Train. This morning, we've been having certain conversation around the stampede at Ibadan. That just happened yesterday and took the life of some innocent children. Before we went on that very short break, the professor had a lot to say. Well, we are back. If you're just joining us, then you are at the right place. You're still tuned into the frequency meter of Unity 93.3 FM and TV. And I want you to be part of this conversation because it promises to be very educative, informative, and very, very interactive. Well, we will be having you at the third segment call in and send in your text messages. When it is time to send in your text messages, send it to 08163141141, and to call in it's 07032353315. Well, Professor Sir, this morning a lot of newspapers have a lot to say about the budget and the fact that we are borrowing a humongous amount to fund this budget, despite the fact that we so claim we have saved a lot of money from fuel subsidy and all. I don't know if you want to lend your voice in this regard.
Well, let me comment a little bit more about the stampede so that those who organize programs should strategize. Crowd control formula is very important because we've been having these incidences repeating themselves. On the 16th of October, for example, 2013, at the end of Ramadan in Bukola Sarakis residence, 16 October 2013, 20 people lost their lives in a stampede because they were coming for Salah food, Salah giveaways, and 20 of them lost their lives. In 2022, I think it was May 18, 2022 in Port Harcourt, a small fun fair carnival was organized and the people were going to give free gifts and people rushed there. There was a stampede that led to the loss of many lives. So these things have been happening again and again. It has happened in Benin. It has happened in different parts of the country, even in recent times. So anytime you're organizing something like this, you say, everybody come to Rampan Stadium. You collect 2,000 naira free. You will expect a crowd. Do you have a crowd control formula? If you are bringing many people into a place, you don't restrict them to a small place with 1 or even 2 gates. Make sure you do it in an open space where people can come and live in every direction. And in fact, there is a better way to organize those things. Because of the extreme poverty in the country, and you want to give people something, why don't you just ask the people to send you, maybe you collect their names and account numbers, transfer the money, rather than bringing them and gathering them in one place. Find a way of doing it that will not lead to a stampede, a huge crowd. And you know, when you know that a crowd is coming, do you have enough law enforcement agents at hand? Do you have enough ushers, enough bouncers that can control the crowd and ensure that there is no stampede? These are things that people who organize these things, they neglect, they don't think about, they don't think deep before, you know, they organize those kind of occasions. It's unfortunate what has happened in Ibadan, and people are still weeping and crying and mourning the tragic loss of more than 30 innocent lives. You know how devastating it was for us here on the plateau on the 12th of July when we lost at least 22 children in Saint Academy. We've not recovered from this. And now we're hearing the news of loss of lives of children in Ibadan, at that Bashoran area, in that high school where Queen Naomi organized, that carnival along with her friends. We hope that the government can really investigate what happened and make sure it is corrected. And if there are people that are found culpable, that they should be punished so that people will learn. Anytime you're organizing something, take the lives and security of the people as a major priority. Don't just organize things anyhow, and then people go there because of the extreme poverty in the country and they lose their lives. And we Nigerians, let's learn to be patient. Let's learn to be more organized. When we need to queue, join the queue. When you need to wait. We're always in a hurry. Hurrying to go what? You see drivers, they're in a hurry, they're just speeding. Keke riders speeding. I've seen Keke riders at extreme speed, they will even come and overtake a car. You wonder why they're rushing to. Are you rushing to the ends of the earth or what? We need to be more circumspect. We need to be more patient. Now I'm talking about yesterday's budget presentation. His Excellency President Bola Ahmed Tinubu presented a budget of 47.9 trillion naira to a combined session of the National Assembly. The House of Representatives and the Senate. It was a combined session. Out of that 47.91 trillion naira, the highest amount in the budget goes to security and defense. And that is 4.9 trillion naira that the president said they're dedicating it to security and defense. Following that is 4.06 trillion naira that is for infrastructure. Education got 3.52 trillion naira. Health got 2.48 trillion naira. The whole total budget itself, 47.91 trillion naira, is the equivalent of just about $27 billion if you convert it to dollars. And that is not up to a quarter of the budget of South Africa. That is over $120 billion. 120 to 130 billion dollars, South Africa. In fact, sometimes their budget gets to about $200 billion or even more. It is far away from Egypt, here in Africa and other small African countries. So our 47.91 trillion naira budget looks very huge because it is in naira. It is the highest in the history of this country since independence, but yet it is an extremely small amount because the naira has become extremely weak compared to the US dollar. So the budget of 1984 is even more than this one when you look at the value.
Yeah, in terms
at
of
that
value.
time when 1 naira was exchanging for $2, 1 naira to $2 from the 70s to the early 80s. So when you look at that in terms of purchasing power, value of the naira and what the money can do, this budget is one of the lowest in the history of the country. Even though the figure appears humongous,
very
huge. And look at what was allocated for education, my area of interest and health. 3.52 trillion naira. If you compare with the total budget, 47.91 trillion naira, it is just 7.4% of the total budget. Education is taking just 7.4%. Health is taking only just about 5%.
Isn't that a mispriority that health and education
It is extremely disappointing. When governors are giving over 30% to education in the southeast and even 1 or 2 states in the southwest, the federal government is giving a meager 7.4% allocation of budget to education. It tells you that they are not serious.
But the country.
5% to health tells you that they are not serious. Now, the president has to tell us what is his priority. Is it the National Assembly that is his priority? The politicians that is his priority? Or the citizens of Nigeria? And that is not all. The budget has a deficit of about 13 to 14 trillion naira, which they are going to fund from borrowing. He who goes a borrowing goes a sorrowing. So Nigeria is in for sorrow because more borrowing is coming. The government will keep going cap in hand to borrow and borrow and borrow. Already they have negotiated to borrow some money from the World Bank, maybe borrow from IMF. They will keep borrowing. Borrow is a borrow government.
So out of even this 47.9 trillion, 15 trillion is going to be used to service debt.
So you can imagine, are we serious?
Yes.
Because our debts has already reached over 100 and something trillion naira that we're owing. And it is not good for the country. And we're going to be owing more. Of course, I know the politicians are saying every nation on earth borrows, so we should not be complaining. And that for the fact that when they go to borrow, the nations are willing to borrow money to them, to give them a loan, shows that they are credit worthy. It shows that our economy is strong. That's why nations can borrow money to us. So they're very proud that if our economy wasn't strong and robust enough, when you go to borrow, nobody will give you money. That they give you money because they know you have the integrity and the capacity to return back the money. But that's just a flimsy excuse.
I strongly beg to disagree, especially as a political science student. Not every country is actually borrowing. There's a myth that actually the US is the most indebted country on earth. But I don't believe it's true. Because if the US is going to borrow, the US is going to borrow either from the IMF or the WTO or even the World Bank. Who owns or runs these very organizations? And if the US are paying back this debt, in what currency are they paying? They are paying in dollars.
Exactly.
So who are they paying it to?
So forget
they are not
the
owing anybody.
US, if they like, they can borrow trillions of dollars. All they need to do is
print the dollars and
print the dollars and pay it back. They own the dollars. So stop comparing yourself with the US. I don't know why our Nigerian politicians think very shallow. They don't think deep. Why will you compare yourself with the US that they are owing, that their economy is sustained by borrowing? They are borrowed. Whose currency are you using? Is it not the US dollar?
Oh, of course.
I own the currency.
I own the currency.
If you disturb me, I'll just print and give you the money.
I own the organization that borrows the money. So who am I borrowing
So why
from?
compare yourself? For African countries, do you own the dollar?
Not at all.
You don't own the dollar. How are you going to repay? You're going to be repaying in US dollars. And that's why you must be very careful.
Of course.
Our leaders, they don't think far. They're short-sighted. They're very parochial, you know, when it comes to things like this. All they think about is today. They're not thinking about tomorrow. All this borrowing. Who is going to pay? You're borrowing for your children's children to pay in generations to come. Some of this money that they have borrowed will not be paid back till 50 years later when all of them will have died and have been forgotten. But they have indebted the country, you know, for generations perpetually. And in fact, if you even have to borrow, let's be serious. The nations you say are borrowing, have you seen their roads? Fantastic.
There's something to show for.
Electricity, 24 hours of the day. Look at their health sector. Their hospitals, clinics, fantastic, world class. Education, there you will never hear of any strike. Go there, you just open the tap, water will come out. So everything is fantastic. In those countries that you're comparing yourself with, politicians, the citizens don't think about security.
Not at all.
They don't think about water. They don't think about electricity. They don't think about health. All of them have health insurance. They can walk into a clinic and be treated. When I was working in Malaysia, I was a foreigner. But I don't pay for my treatment. The government pays for my treatment, the treatment of my wife and my 3 children. We just go to the hospital and we don't pay a dime. Everything is taken care of because we have health insurance. So we don't, in fact, sometimes we just, you know, we just feel a small headache or something, we just go there because we know we'll be getting drugs for free. The doctor will attend to us for free and will not waste our time. You know, as you come in, you're not supposed to spend more than 15 minutes without being attended to by a doctor. And those are the countries. Our politicians in Nigeria will be saying, this country borrows, China borrows, Japan borrows,
The question
US
is,
borrows,
what are the
and all those.
conditionalities that they used in borrowing?
And you're
What is the
comparing
condition
yourself
given?
with countries that are doing fantastically well.
The conditions are even favorable for those countries as against conditions given to African countries when you want to borrow. Their borrowing is totally different from ours because looking at our conditionalities, the devaluation of our currency, the privatization, the regulation, commercialization, a lot of conditions that will scatter the economy, and yet we accept these conditions blindly because we are looking at our selfish interests and borrow. Meanwhile, if the countries in Europe are borrowing, the conditions are very fair, they are very favorable.
And then, you know, those countries in Europe, look at how they've advanced. By the time you've advanced, you are industrialized. You are a first world country. You are a high income country. No matter how much your country borrows, it doesn't affect
There
you.
is a means to an end.
But when a country is extremely poor, and 133 million of our citizens are living in poverty, when people cannot afford a meal in a day, when we don't have roads, we don't have well-equipped hospitals, when our politicians will have headache or a pain in their ears and they have to travel out of the country, when they have to take their children outside the country to study, and then you keep borrowing and borrowing and borrowing, and we don't see the result of the borrowing. All the money we've been borrowing since the First Republic to today, has Nigeria become a developed country?
Not at all.
Has it helped the citizens of Nigeria? I mean, how has it helped you and me, all the borrowing? Tell us what you've done with all the money you've been borrowing, that you still want to keep borrowing and borrowing and borrowing and borrowing. Now look at the so-called 47.91 trillion naira budget. It's supposed to be a budget of restoration of security and of prosperity for Nigerians. Now, that is just a caption, a title, a tag. What are you doing to ensure restoration of security, of prosperity for Nigerians? Because in that budget, how many jobs are you going to be creating? How many Nigerians will you bring out of poverty? Is it by the small money you give out, handouts to families? Select some families, give them handouts? That will not lead to a better economy for the country. How many factories are you going to build? That's what we're talking about. How many industries will come into existence from that budget? How many young people will get gainful employment? How many universities are you going to fund very well with education allocated only 7.4% of that budget? You know, I mean, this budget is a budget of depression for Nigerians.
It is.
It is a budget of sorrow for Nigerians.
It is.
And it is not a good thing that the president is priding himself and talking with so much pride that the economy is improving. Is he living in Jupiter? Is he living in Mars or Mercury? Is he living in another planet? Is President Bola Ahmed Tinubu in this country called Nigeria that he thinks that the economy is improving? Who is the one deceiving our president that the economy is improving in the midst of insecurity? In the last 12 months alone, Nigerians have paid 2.23 trillion naira as ransom. 2.23 trillion naira as ransom in the last 3 months alone. And you think that investors want to come and invest in a country where innocent citizens have paid 2.2 trillion naira as ransom in 12 months alone? And that is a statistics from our own National Bureau for Statistics, that is known for being very conservative in bringing out figures in support of the government. They could not help but acknowledge 2.2 trillion naira as ransom in the last 12 months.
When I saw that yesterday, I told myself, I said, it is more. It should be more. Because if the National Bureau of Statistics will actually bring this statistic of 2.3 trillion as ransom, then something that it should be more. It should be more.
The government needs to be serious, because we've had budgets from year to year over the years. Even those budgets are not properly implemented. The budget of 2024, have you finished implementing it? How is the budget doing? Has it led to a better economy? Are Nigerians having a better life as a result of the budget? That should be the focus of the government. How do we empower Nigerians? How do we empower the private sector that drives the economy of every nation? How do we create jobs for Nigerians? How do we build more industries that can employ more people? I mean, you strategize. Even the 4.06 or so trillion for infrastructure. What infrastructure? Are we going to see it? Before you know it, they will say they're building one road from one place to the other, or one rail, or they're doing this, they're doing that one, and the money will just disappear.
Should we even prioritize infrastructure as against health and education? Because a lot of times it seems to me as if we keep aside the place of human development and then prioritize this infrastructural development and all. Meanwhile, one should be should be a priority as against the other.
You know, if they will even develop infrastructure and ensure we have good infrastructure, it will have even been fantastic. But the problem is that it's just lip service. They will tell you that they are going to provide infrastructure. Next year, let's come and see whether all the roads in Nigeria will be Dunlop roads, fantastic roads, the whole country. Let's see whether they are going to put in place an electricity supply that is 247. Last night, we did not have light up to morning, up to the time I left the house. This morning, there was no light and we're on ban A. We are running on generator now in my house, even though we are on ban A. We did not have light from night till morning. And nobody is telling us why. Now, you see, and this is a country where, as a citizen, you have to provide your own road, you have to provide your own water, you have to provide your own security, you have to provide your own electricity, you have to provide your own food, provide everything for yourself. What is the work of the government? The government cannot provide the road. The government cannot provide security, cannot provide electricity. They can't provide anything, basic amenities, basic things that are taken for granted in other parts of the world. No politician comes out in the developed world to say, if you vote for me, you will get water. If you vote for me, I'll provide electricity. If you vote for me, I'll create road. No politician does that. To do it is an insult. If you try it, maybe they will even slap him, because those things are already existing. No politician will tell you, if you vote for me, I'll pay your salary. But here in Nigeria, that a governor pays salary is an achievement. that the federal government pays salaries, they have achieved. They will say we've paid salary, that's one of our achievements. We've built 1 5-kilometer road, it is an achievement. We've provided a borehole in one village, that's an achievement. It's a shame. It tells you how extremely primitive our country is. You know, my friends visited Nigeria. When they returned back, they said, oh, your country, you have so many intelligent and brilliant people. But your country, Nigeria, is like Malaysia in the 60s. That's a polite insult. With the infrastructure, with the things they saw, they felt this was what our country was in the 60s. And this is the Nigeria we're celebrating. We're celebrating that, oh, this is a great country. Oh, Nigeria is a giant in the sun. Oh, we're celebrating that, you know, some governors have provided small infrastructure. We're celebrating that we have some small train service. Now, the federal government has even announced, if you want to travel, Pedro, from 20th December, beginning from tomorrow, to January 5th, free train services. And some free bus services in some parts of the country. It is free. If you want to travel, you can enjoy free train services. But how many trains do we have? That with the multitude of Nigerians, that is another, if something is not done again, that's another avenue for a stampede. Because Nigerians will rush to the train station. All of them want to travel because it's free. At the end of the day, you will see the kind of crowd that wants to travel, they will end up being disappointed, just like they were last year. So you see, we don't have a government that is serious. His Excellency Bola Ahmed Tinubu needs to be serious. He needs to sit down with technocrats to forge a way for this nation to become industrialized, become developed.
There needs to be
he needs to sit down with technocrats, not APC supporters, not APC members, not those mediocre people that he has appointed into positions of authority. More than 50% of the ministers in Tinubu's cabinet are underperforming. He should sack them. I don't know why he's leaving them there. What are they doing there? They're just occupying space. That's all. They're just mere figureheads doing nothing. They should have been shown the way out. And the president should relinquish that his portfolio as the Minister of Petroleum Resources because he has done badly. He has been one of the worst ministers of petroleum resources in this country. He should at least excuse himself from that position and give it to a technocrat, give it to somebody who will do better. Because with all the petrol resources we have in this country, the country still has 133 million people in poverty. That's a shame. And there is no budget that you bring that will make us proud. Because we've heard all these small budgets, big budget, all manner of budgets. They're just mere talk. At the end of the day, nothing is done. In fact, for your information, the 2024 budget they say will continue to run till June 2025.
Yes.
So these are not serious people.
One would think that because the president is the Minister of Petroleum, things are going to be done differently. But unfortunately, we are even worse than we were in the past.
They've just bastardized the economy. We've wasted the opportunity we have as an oil-producing country to become great. Look at what Saudi Arabia has done with their own oil. Is Nigeria's oil different? Why have we not become like Saudi Arabia? Why have we not become like even Kuwait? Why have we not become like some of these countries like Dubai, United Arab Emirates? Why are we still the way we are in spite of the oil resources that we have? It is a problem of leadership. We have leaders that are not visionary. We have leaders who are parochial and short-sighted, who are selfish, who are greedy, who are full of pecuniary avarice, who are not interested in seeing Nigeria become great because they have weaponized poverty. As long as Nigerians are poor, they know that Nigerians will not be able to oppose them. That's why Nigerians will be protesting. And they will say, you can go and protest while we're here eating. They don't care about the protest. Look at after the protest, the prices of things even increased the more after the protest.
To tell you that they don't care about
the protests of Nigerians. They don't care about the plight of Nigerians. And that's why I've been calling upon Nigerians that look, forget about the government. You have to take your own destiny in your hands. You have to invest. It's a difficult time, but you must invest as a Nigerian if you want to make it. No matter how small an investment, invest in something that will bring you income. And stop relying on your salary. Have multiple streams of income. That is how to survive in this extremely difficult economy, these hard times that we're passing through. These are Tinubunomics that Nigeria is undergoing, all these tests and trial and error that Nigeria is undergoing.
I like
so
that.
This Tinubunomics is not helping us.
Actually,
we need to devise ways to survive in this country, and you must take your destiny in your hands and do something with your hands, something profitable. You need to have an idea that will bring income to you so that you can survive and forget about these politicians.
All right. The professor just coined a new word, Tinubunomics, and when we come back, we'll be having more insight as to that very, very word that has been coined in this program this morning. Well, stay tuned. When we come back, we'll be having more of this conversation.
Just makes you wanna love some more. Its sweetness conquers every hate. The taste of it just makes you know peace. Love, sending chills to our hearts. Love, building our consciences. Love is our only consciousness. We live it, breathe and even sweat love. Cause love is our greatest weapon. Love is what we live. Love is what we practice. Love is what we wanna share. Cause love is all. Just love. Love is unity. Unity 93.3 FM. Voice of reason. Voice of reason.
93.3 FM.
Unity. Voice of reason.
Unity 93.3 FM.
There is a place where everyone is different yet happy. Where love and friendship fills the air. Where togetherness is a tradition. And diversity is a strength. Just City, home of unity. 93.3 FM.
Reason it.
Since we know that, Pops, we're gonna get it right, aren't we?
Yeah. Voice it. Champion it. It's Unity 93.3 FM.
Yep, okay, here we go.
It just.
Face it, the only thing constant in radio is change.
A lot's changed since 1967.
You've evolved with your listeners.
You used to play this.
Everybody's doing a brand new dance now.
Now you're playing first. Unity 93.3 FM.
You can still hear my voice, and it means you're still rightly tuned into the frequency meter of Unity 93.3 FM and TV. And of course, it is still that your most anticipated political and socio-economic program on the radio, the Unity Train. This morning, we've been having a lot of conversations around certain issues of interest. And one of the most one of the issues that we actually spoke about that is of interest actually this morning is the issue of the budget passed yesterday by the President, His Excellency Ahmed Tinubu, of about 47.9 trillion naira. And we had a lot to talk about that very budget, judging from the fact that a lot of mispriorities are seen in the budget, education, infrastructure, having more allocation than education, health, and other very important areas of our economy that one should look into, especially when it concerns the current state of our nation. Education, I think, should be a priority. Health should be a priority, and then human capital investments or empowerment should be another thing that we should look into. But rather, we are looking at other sectors, and even from the 47.9 trillion naira, that looks very, very big, or sounds very, very big in terms of volume. In value, the professor has a lot to say about it, judging, saying that it's not even up to the budget of small African countries here, in neighboring African countries here in Africa. Even in West Africa, some countries have better budget than this budget, according to the professor. But well, we are going to be having more of this conversation before we go start picking your calls. When you want to call in, the number to call is 0703-235-3315, and the number to send your SMS to is 081631414141. The professor just coined a new word this morning, Tinubunomics. I don't know the definition of that word. I don't know what it means actually, but in my mind, it's I have a meaning for it. I have a definition for it already. Tinubunomics is actually a study that we should actually pay attention and actually learn, because there's a lot about Tinubunomics that Nigerians have felt and experienced. They say is the best teacher. If you have not studied Tinubunomics, then you have learned from experience actually. Well, I have some few text messages in the house that I want to read before your call starts coming in. This one says, "Good morning, Professor PH and Mr. Pedro. Honestly, if Mr. President with senators and rep members can decide to make Nigeria happy by giving more percentage on education sector and security sector on the budget, because many sectors are malfunctioning due to improper engagement and inadequate security, tidying security along almost every sector, and so many business will be functioning very well. Thank you, Ismail from Jos." That is from Ismail from Jos. He is saying education should be given more priority, and health should be given more priority. Sincerely, I agree with you, Ismail, because infrastructure is not what we need. Nigerians will not travel on a road that when they are actually dying. It is a man that is healthy that can actually drive. It is a man that is healthy that can actually it is a man that has eaten that can actually buy fuel to even drive or even fix his car to want to use a road that has been fixed. The professor said something that caught my attention. He said even the 4-point-something trillion naira that has been allocated for infrastructure will not be used for infrastructure, because come next year you will be expecting that you will see a lot of good roads and bridges and what have you, but then it is still going to be the same thing you are used to seeing. For how long have you been talking about the Lagos-Ibadan Express Road, and how long has how much has been done about that very road? It is still almost the way it has been, and budget upon budget has been made in the past for that very road, and it is still the way it is. We are persuaded to accept things the way they are currently in this country, but that does not go to say that we should be silent. Our voices are key. We are expected to actually speak, and even speak louder than we have been speaking in the past, because these voices, the moment you keep quiet, then it's a permission for a lot of evil to actually take place. It is a permission for the certain politicians to perpetrate their evil. So lending our voice is very, very important. Well, this text message says, "Good morning, Mr. Pedro and amiable, consistent and passionate analyst, Professor Bameyi. I want to commiserate with you, Mr. Pedro, on the loss of your mother-in-law. May God rest her soul and comfort the entire family. It's so sad and disheartening that these innocent children had to lose their lives because of the stampedes that happened in Ibadan. May God comfort the families affected. I don't know why over the years our leaders don't patronize education, health, in their budget. So I pray that corruption and bureaucratic delays will not stop this budget from being implemented. Peace is priceless. Let's live in peace. Let's live in peace. God bless Unity FM, Plateau State, Nigeria. Christy Izang from Rukuba Road. Well, that was from Christy Izan from Rukuba Road. Actually, Christy Izan, thank you for this very, very wonderful text message you just sent in this morning. It is unfortunate that the life of children that are actually planning to celebrate this Christmas was cut short just because of 5,000 naira. 5,000 naira. Maybe some of these children actually went there to get that 5,000 naira so they can buy shoes or clothes that their parents cannot afford due to the economic challenges that we're currently facing in this country. And unfortunately, that has cost them their lives. Well, the number to call again is 07032353315, and the number to send in your SMS to is 08163141141. I still have this text message this morning. It says, "Morning, Mr. Pedro and Professor Bame. You congrats to Ademola Lookman of the Super Eagle and Vinicius Jr. of Real Madrid. Real Madrid for life, considering the huge and humongous amount of 2095 budget presented. How much will be going into education and Ministry of Humanitarian and Poverty Alleviation? Will this reduce the hunger and suffering in the land? Let's always be sincere as we give account of all our deeds. One day, may the labor of our heroes past not be in vain. God bless Nigeria." This is from Adewumi from Bauchi Road. Thank you, Mr. Adewumi from
Hello,
Bauchi.
good morning.
Yeah, good morning.
Yes, I am Bashir. One time, I'm calling from Jos.
Good morning, Bashir. One time,
hello.
I can hear you.
Yeah, so Professor, good morning. This is fantastic analysis. We are very grateful with this. When a listener listens, you see how knowledge is flowing on the air. So thank you very much. I want to contribute about these children, innocent children that lost their lives as a result of bad leadership in this country. You see, in this country now, this is going well. People will not be coming in and look for 5,000 naira. Islamically, the law say that killing of one person is like killing the world. Huge amount of a project taken on from the Bada Road, and the money contributed to ECOWAS. Then people are hungry inside the country. That money is supposed to be put it in common Nigerians to benefit from that. So if you look at the budget now that took place, education, Nigerians cannot meet up to tuition fee. They are dropping out in universities. What is the leadership? What are we benefiting from the government? Okay, now we say that we are going to generate everything now with us, by ourselves. Nothing is expected from government. Okay, we agree. And 2027 is now. It is now you see that 2027 is coming. So this time around we are going to vote based on credibility. What have we done to the country? We have to see people now are wise. Looking at the Ghana election, look at the American election. So now the politicians will put eye on them. We are going to vote based on credibility. Thank you very much. And I want to call on JED manager here in Nasarawa Douala transformer here now. We are about 7 days darkness. This man cannot manage the transformer. A lot of issues is happening. If he's not ready, let him resign from the office and give someone that would do it well. Thank you very much. I am Bashir Dankoli.
Thank you, Bashir Dankoli, for that wonderful input. And that Nasarawa Douala, what's it called now? The transformer that has been faulty for 7 days is uncalled for. These people are paying for their NEPA bill, and then they have the right to get lights supply. Please, if the JED can hear this, they should do something about it.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah, thank you very much. My name is Sadiq Umar. I'm calling from TTNT Junction.
All right, Mr. Sadiq Umar, you have the floor.
Yeah, I commend the prof in the house. He has spoken very, very well. And actually, we have raised a lot of issues comparing the kind of leadership that we have in Nigeria and the other countries. It's very, very unfortunate that in Nigeria that we don't get a reason of having a government. Because when you look at it, there is not any facility that is just done by candidate, but because of one reason or the other, then the court will now give it to another wrong person. That's to say that the person will not do the needful. And the issue of corruption, it is very, very unfortunate in this present administration, even in the past administration, the corruption is getting into a high level. We are just borrowing money. What is the government doing with the money? That is the main question. There's not any infrastructure, any development, any industry that will do with this money. But on any time, the government used to borrow money to run their budget, which is very, very unfortunate. The government cannot borrow money to dash out money to the people, and they will say that they will get the results. So the system must be changed. The issue of corruption must be checked out in the system of Nigeria. And the citizens must make sure that, as you said, they must make sure that they stand on their own. Because if it depends on the government will never do anything as long as APC is running the country. Thank you very much. God bless you.
Thank you. God bless you too. Well, looking at the budget, this 2025 budget. Okay, I have a call. All right. That I lost that call. All right. I was saying something about the budget 2024. That's 2025 budget. We already have a deficit of about 13 trillion naira. Hello. Hello. Good morning. You're welcome, Mr. Benedict.
Yes. So quickly, let me just recommend you for keeping this with this particular program, even though the weather has really gone very, very chill. The weather has gone very chill, and let's say actually, it's very easy to wake up this time around, even by 20 minutes. People like you are very specific. They're keeping up with the people there. Thank you very, very much, and may God bless you.
Thank you too. God bless you.
Having said that, you see, on the issue of the budget, I want to say something concerning the budget. Nigeria should not be looking at the budget, and having lots of tips on the budget, because this budget over time, not really circulate to this government. Time and time, the government, or some government, has actually proven that the budget is made for the National Assembly and for the state and for the federal executive and for the governors and the political appointees and ministers. That is the truth of the matter. If budget is not reflecting the people, if Nigerian government is going to budget, and then after that budget, you may see infrastructure, you may see education, you may see the massive employment and creation of the jobs. The budget is going to be made up to the tune of over 47 trillion. And again, it's going to reflect on the life of the common man in the street. Then, I will personally tell you that it is really made for the National Assembly, for the executive, for the political elite, and for the people in power. That is where they got taken. And let me also remind you, there was a time in this country when budget was delayed for over 6 months. And Nigeria is still going on. Nigeria is still going forward. So SME, this is really what I come back to that say. SME, if you don't give it a priority, if you are going to create policies that go to destroy SME, it's going to affect the people and then go to impoverish more and more people. And because whether you make budget or not make budget, it will also affect the farmers in the rural areas. The budget of Nigeria will be reflected even on the workers in the street. Because for whatever it becomes, people are going to see this salaries based on the way the estimation way they are attending their utility business, committing their giving out their utility business, and then receiving their utility salaries to be able to go to the market and buy the food that is being produced by the farmers. So if the budget is not even being made, it is only going to touch on the life of the lawmakers. So the budget of Nigeria is only going to be for the lawmakers. That is the reason why they told you. If you look at it, listen to me this morning, I heard them, they were saying that the lawmakers are jubilating at the credit of the president on this particular budget for the 20 billion. If you take out the amount of money projected for the lawmakers, you understand that the budget is literally being made for their own benefit and not for the benefit of the people. Not for the benefit of the people that are sick in the hospital, not for the benefit of the people that have been working for the government, not for the people, not for the benefit of the people that are living in the rural areas that make their so that their life will get better and they will even realize that there is the government in power. So the budget, whether it is being made, whether it is or not, whether it is being made, it doesn't really reflect on the life of Nigerians. So people should just forget about the issue of Nigeria budget. It is good for them, it is good for the masses, it is good for the elite and for the politicians. And lastly, before I close, if you look at the newspaper this morning,
Thank you so much, Mr. Benedict, this morning. Thank you so much for that wonderful contribution. Mr. Benedict has a lot to say about the budget this morning, saying that the budget is not even a budget that is projecting the interest of the people, but rather projecting the interest of few individuals that are in power. Well, I agree with you to a very to some extent, Mr. Benedict, because sincerely, well, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Professor, good morning.
Good morning, Mr.
Master, good morning, sir. My name is Ude calling from Terminus.
Mr. Kingsley, good morning. Good day, do us.
My brother, I see what I'm hearing with the doers. Assuming that the government take care of the citizens, these children go and, because of 5,000, the children die. You see, this country, is only God can deliver us, because government are not ready to do anything. The budget government is now, what can common man benefit from it? It's only them. How you expect they use it to go and buy SUV vehicles using putting sarin, disturbing the common man on the street and the road. That is it. But my heart goes to more to these children and the family that lost their left side. But they are sort of all these children in good. That is what I want to contribute this month. Thank you. My God bless our country as we are just about people.
Amen.
Thank you. Amen. You are wonderful for another this month. God bless you and bless your family.
Thank you. God bless you too, Mr. Kingsley. The son says, I have a text message that reads, good morning, Mike, Pedro, and Prof. The budget of 47.9 trillion is awesome, but the question is, how honest is the implementation and utilization of this budget? I also hope that there will be no more borrowing. Nothing is seen from the humongous money that they borrowed. If we don't have industries and companies for this, for the growth and development of this country, our country, Nigeria, will crash and people will become the victims of circumstances. Mike Pedro, accept my condolences. May the soul of your mother-in-law rest in peace. With regards to Kulbi, Barrister, and Emilongs from Agingi. Thank you, Emilongs, for this wonderful text message this morning, and thank you for the condolence message. I really, really appreciate this. Talking about the content of your text message that says that I hope there's not going to be more borrowing. There's already a plan to borrow again, because we have a deficit of about 13 trillion naira on the budget, and then already out of the 47.9 trillion naira, we are going to be servicing debt with 15 trillion naira, and we are going to be borrowing 13 trillion naira because we have deficit. That goes to say that out of the 47 trillion naira, we are minusing 15 trillion, and if we minus 15 trillion, we still have to borrow 13 trillion to balance in order to run the budgets come 2025 from the middle of 2025. What is the rationality about this? I find myself wondering if this is rational at all. Are we looking at diversifying the economy so that we reduce borrowing, or are we still going to bank on crude oil as the main source of livelihood for this great nation, Nigeria? So far, so good. The borrowing has becoming too much. It's becoming too much. You can imagine a budget of 47.9 trillion and 15 trillion is going into debt servicing. Debt servicing. I need us to understand the concept of debt servicing. It has a ripple effect, a serious effect on our economy. That so far, so good. We are how do I call it, dependent on the other economies to actually survive. If that 15 trillion would have been used or channeled into other sectors of the economy, Nigeria would have done better come 2025. But the fact that we have borrowed and borrowed and borrowed again to the tune of more than 100 and something trillion naira currently, we still would have to pay that humongous amount servicing debts, not clearing the debt. We are servicing the debt with 15 trillion naira. It is just very, very unfortunate, and this is not going to be the last debt that we are, or the last this is not going to mark the end of borrowing. We are still going to borrow again, because sincerely, the way things are going and the mentality that we are having as a people, as Nigerians, and as political elites in Nigeria, a lot needs to be done. There's a huge gap when it comes to the place of strategic thinking, when it comes to the place of political will, when it comes to the place of empathy and sympathy as it concerns the citizens of Nigeria. There's a lot that is missing. There's a huge gap that needs to be closed, because if not so, at our current state, we are still prioritizing infrastructure over health. A lot of Nigerians might look healthy physically, but mentally, few Nigerians are actually mentally sane as it is right now, considering the fact that the economy is taking a toll on them. Like, economic challenge that they are going through is having a ripple effect on their lives. Most Nigerians are no longer living the standard of life they were living during Buhari that we were complaining, compared to the life that they are currently living right now. So there's a lot that needs to be done, especially when it comes to the angle of health. I have a lot to say this morning, but unfortunately we are out of time, and we will be stopping here. Well, as you go about your business today, do well to impact the life of somebody in the little way that you can. Be a blessing, even in the midst of this hardship. Giving is a state of heart. It's a heart condition. It is not the abundant availability of resources that influences giving. It is a condition of a heart that influences giving. When you have sympathy and empathy towards people, you find yourself wanting to give. Bless somebody in the little way that you can. And then we'll be here tomorrow, same time, same station. Enjoy the rest of your day. God bless you. Bye.
Mr. Politician, it's good to see you again. It's been so long since you've been here. You had me thinking you were dead. How's your taxpayer mansion?